Good.
The registrar wants to call the matter first. As the court pleases, my lord, we confirm our appearance on behalf of the state.
Yes.
As it is the court, my lord, I confirm my appearance on behalf of accused number 1 and number 3.
Okay.
This is the court, my lord, I confirm my appearance on behalf of accused number 2.
Okay.
As it pleases the court, my lord, I still confirm my appearance on behalf of accused number 4, standing in for my colleague, Advocate Msholono, in respect of accused number 5. Yes,
okay,
thank you.
Fine. Sorry, man. You know what? I forgot my pen. Where's the pen? Yeah, thanks. Okay. Yes, Mr. Dali.
As the court please, my lord, the matter was adjourned last week Tuesday on the 20th to today. To follow up on the information that Advocate Nisi requested.
Right.
This information can be classified in 3 categories of vehicle. The first category relates to the vehicles that were used by the SWAT unit during the period June 2020.
Right.
We have since obtained an affidavit from an official of the city of Ekurhuleni attached to the Information and Communication Technology Department, who has access to all AVL records of the motor vehicle of the Ekurhuleni Metro Council.
Right.
We've established that during that period, the team that escorted from Ekurhuleni Metro, that escorted the cold case unit, used 4 vehicles, and those vehicles are covered in this affidavit. It was namely a white Audi A3. The registration number is BZ35MCGP. It's got a fleet number as well, fleet number 261515. And secondly, it was a white BMW 125i with the registration number FT33 GRGP with fleet number 262180. The third vehicle was a white Nissan double cab NP300 registration number CN71BVGP with fleet number 132247. And the fourth vehicle was a white marked Isuzu double cab with a registration number JC72PVGP with fleet number 133444. And in this affidavit, my lord, the official states that these vehicles were allocated to the SWAT team during the period 2020. And he states that there is no AVL data available for the period of 2020. This period covers the following months, my lord: May, June, and July 2020. He says there's no AVL data for these 4 vehicles and other vehicles that are owned by Ekurhuleni Metro Council. And he says, my lord, that he conducted a thorough search within the city's fleet tracking system. And he says, my lord, that prior to or that the current tracking system, my lord, was only implemented after 2020, the fleet tracking system. And he states furthermore, my lord, that there's no historical AVL data that was migrated from their previous tracking platform into the current system. And he attributes this to various factors. Firstly, he says this is due to a supplier lock-in, an unresolved contractual dispute between the service provider and the Ekurhuleni Metro, which prevented the city from obtaining legacy data from the previous service provider at the time of the transition. And he says the current system was locked without the legacy data being transferred to the current system. He therefore says, my lord, that there's no data there's now AVL data from the Ekurhuleni Metro for the period 2020. Now, can they get it from the previous service provider, as this exercise was done on many previous occasions on different matters, as well as after the current request without any success, my lord? And he attaches the certificate of registration from the INATI system to confirm that these 4 vehicles were or are owned by Ekurhuleni Metro. So in a nutshell, my lord, as far as the vehicles that were used by the SWAT members, no AVL records can be traced.
Let me read you this comment. It says, what I have realized about this case is if you agree to bring spice, wood, charcoal to help these Mgulugudus, you get a promotion. All participants in this case got promotions, but if you are against them, think of Warrant Officer Makubo, who is still a Warrant Officer Makubo, but we're not pulling rags here. Let's just break down what Baloyi said. It's a lot, okay, Guningi, but what can I say? What can I say? I mean, where do we even start? Okay, so the category of vehicles requested has been broken down into 3 categories according to Baloyi, and that first category he breaks down is that of the SWAT team, and the cars that are mentioned, we never heard of them before, but you know, he's come back with the report from the city of Ekurhuleni. The way he said it just killed me, but you know what? Let me try and say it one more time. Ekurhuleni. Never mind. Okay, it's like when he said Shalolo. I could never unhear that again. Speaking of Shalolo, of course she wasn't in the courtroom. At this point, we might as well just wish her all the best in her future endeavors. She's not coming back. That's it. Today, though, would have been a good day for her to be in court. Mnisi needs help, guys. Mnisi needs help, especially during those difficult times. There is no way Shalolo would have sat in that courtroom and allowed the judge to continue proceedings while Mnisi was talking to Muzi. That wouldn't have happened. But then, let's get back into this before I digress even further down the Shalolo rabbit hole. Baloyi comes to tell us that he's got an affidavit. Baloyi, who asked you for an affidavit? Nobody asked you for an affidavit. So, Baloyi, no. You know what? It's not Baloyi. Kininda and his team went to the Ekurhuleni, city of Ekurhuleni, and they went to the official in the Information and Technology Department to request the AVLs, and he told them, forget it. I will commend them for that first step, because I told you guys that if you are paying for a service, somebody within the South African Police Services has access to that, even though because I had said I don't see why they need a magistrate order, because this is a client relationship. You have an existing contract. It's a matter of, can you print up this date to this date? It does not require a magistrate order. So that's what they did. They went to that department, Information and Technology Department, and the guy was very quick on the words. Very quick. He said, no, I'll write your affidavit. We don't have those AVL records. And besides, what I can tell you is the cars that were allocated to them is the Audi, a BMW, a Nissan double cab, and Isuzu double cab. Okay, great. Now there's an Audi. Okay. There's a BMW. Okay. None of those were mentioned before, but who am I? Who am I? Of course, drop a 1 in the comment section if you really expected AVL records to enter inside Phakathi Judge Ratto's courtroom. Drop a 1. But this affidavit proceeds. You see, this affidavit comes to court on its own, not escorted by its owner. And the affidavit is read into the record by Advocate Baloyi. Very irregular. Very, very irregular. But stay tuned, because Mnisi is going to chew on that, okay? Mnisi is going to flog that little bit of sneaky behavior by Baloyi. All we know is that there was no AVL data from May, June, and July for those 4 vehicles, and even other vehicles. Don't just think it's just those vehicles. Don't come back and ask for the other vehicles. No vehicles could have an AVL during that period. It's such a precarious time that conveniently they don't have it. But we're used to this, okay? This is the SENZO MEYIWA trial. We are very, very used to this. We know how the script goes, okay? And that this mysterious person who has no name, because we know what you guys did with Sambo's name last week. You guys took that name to shreds. So this time he's an unknown person, okay? He has no, and he confirms that he conducted a thorough search. Again, a one-man show. I personally hate one-man shows because I need validation. I need somebody backing it up to say, sure, this really did happen. So this one-man show did a thorough search within the fleet tracking system. There's no historical AVL. Don't ask for it, okay? Because, you know, we and the supplier, we had issues. I want to hear the supplier say so. I want to hear the supplier say so. Besides what the supplier is saying, it's contractually agreed upon. You must do the handover. I'll give you an example. G4S over there, and then Don is at the, which prison was it? The prison for Thabo Bester, and then they've lost their contract. There's always something in the contract that takes care of all this. So I need to see the contract that says they're not getting any AVL records if there's a dispute. This is a serious problem. I have worked with closures of companies. I have worked with contracts being transferred. I know what I'm talking about. It's in the contract. Send me the contract, Baloyi. I will read it and I will show you the clauses that are being broken. This to me sounds like jibber jabber, okay? They're just trying to use big language, but unfortunately, some of us have worked in places where we've taken away contracts from one supplier to another, and there's always a facilitation that has to happen. It's the law. But anyway, I digress. Let's continue listening on before I go down this rabbit hole. Anyway, all this to say, there's no AVL records for the SWAT team. Okay, forget about it. Buthelezi and friends, they're covered by Baloyi.
Then the second category of vehicles is the one that was used by the crime intelligence, and that to a large extent refers to the Toyota Baki that was used by Constable, the late Sergeant Mabena. In that regard, my lord, the investigating team was able to obtain a case docket that was open after Sergeant Mabena was involved in that fatal accident. It's a copy of the case docket, the post-mortem, as well as all the chain statements, the statements of the police officers who attended the scene after the accident. And there's also attached to this document photos of the vehicle wherein Sergeant Mabena demised the white Toyota Baki. There's also a statement from the section commander, public transport in the Counter and Security Intelligence Unit at head office, dated 20 November 2023, addressed to Brigadier Gininda, and it's addressed to the head of the cold case unit, and it reads as follows: First Lawrence Cast 63610 of 2014, assist us for information on motor vehicle Toyota Hilux double cab, gives the registration number BK23RLGP, and it says AVL stroke tracker records for Sergeant KS Mabena. The important paragraphs are paragraphs 4 and 6. Paragraph 4 states as follows: the vehicle Toyota Hilux double cab registration number BK23RLGP was not fitted with auto vehicle location, in brackets AVL, or any other tracking location device due to the nature of the operations involved. Paragraph 5, the vehicle log sheet for the month of June 2020 was searched and could not be traced from the storage, and the person who may have been in better position to assist in this matter is now deceased. Paragraph 6, furthermore, the said motor vehicle was involved in an accident on 23 September 2022, where Sergeant Mabena lost his life, as per Mecklenburg CAS 142/9/2022, and the vehicle was written off and sold as scrapped as a result of the accident. And the affidavits that I referred to earlier on pertain to this case docket, Mecklenburg CAS 142/9/2022.
Nobody asked Baloyi and friends to bring a photo album of the Toyota Baki to court. All we want is the AVLs. But what did Baloyi do? Still bring an entire docket about Sergeant Mabena's Toyota Baki, and that it died, and that everything, can't be found with that fatal accident. Besides, there was no AVL fitted anyway. Why couldn't he just lead with that? Why did he have to tell us this whole rigmarole story, bring the docket? Let me tell you why he brought the docket. Because he wanted to bring the photos, and he wanted my lord to see the photos, and he wanted to pull on authenticity using those photos. But the AVL record database does not sit in the Baki, okay? It sits in a server somewhere else. No matter what happens to the car, even if they sold it, it was written up and sold for scrap. I found that sentence a little bit too overboard. Yes. Why did that need to be mentioned as well? As in, don't even ask for the vehicle. Don't even ask for the whereabouts of the vehicle. It was sold and it's scrap and it's gone. Not only did Sergeant Mabena die with all the information, don't ask even for the logbook. We can't find it, and the only person who can tell us is Sergeant Mabena. Like, do you see how they're blaming everything on the dead? And then conveniently at the end of this all, there is no AVL, and it's confirmed by the station commander. And it's a mess. Okay, good. So basically, category 2 vehicle is no AVL record as well. It was not fitted because of the nature of the business involved. Do I find this suspicious? Yes, I do. Highly so. But let's continue listening to category 3 of the vehicles.
Then the last category of the vehicles, my lord, is the vehicle that was used by Sergeant Mabena, on which information was also requested. The investigating team obtained the statement of a warrant officer who is attached to the Ekurhuleni district office as a fleet manager, and he confirms that he received a request regarding one of their vehicles that was used by Constable Zungu, a Volkswagen Polo, on 26 October 2014, as well as the log books pertaining to that vehicle. He says after receiving this request, he requested for time to launch a search for the logbooks of this VW Polo. And he says he went into the storeroom, he checked, but unfortunately he couldn't find any record or logbooks of this vehicle. And he says he did check all their storage and nothing could be found. There is, my lord, the sum total of all the vehicles that were involved. So in other words, there's no historical data for the AVL records. For the Ekurhuleni Metro vehicles, as far as the vehicle of Sergeant Mabena Toyota Hilux, it wasn't fitted with AVL. The log sheets cannot be found, and this pertains to the vehicle that was used by Constable Zungu as well on the 26th of October.
Sorry, that vehicle, does it still exist? The Zungu one?
Well, I suppose so, my lord. He doesn't state as to
I see.
whether
Okay.
it does exist, but I suppose it does still exist.
Okay.
You know, like when you're watching all the movies, you see the same characters moving from one show. If they're not in Isivaya, they're also in Muvhango. If they're not in Muvhango, they're also in Generations, and so on and so on. You see, it's the main characters. They just keep moving from one show to another, depending on what is going on. Where am I going with this? Did I just hear Baloyi say the vehicle driven by Sergeant Mabena is the same one also driven by Constable Zungu? Or am I imagining things? Like, how is Constable Zungu's path? How did his path cross Sergeant Mabena's path, who happens to then be the one investigating the SENZO MEYIWA? You know what? Let me just drop my mic here. Let me drop my mic here. This is too much.